Good morning to everybody. This is Two Queers.
Said it's raining men?
That's a little rated men right there.
I hadn't heard that one since Pride.
Oh, I know. Since about a week ago. But anyway,
Exactly.
I figured since Lady G's in the news, it has just been all for clunked about her, whatever she gets mad about, it being Trump's lackey. I figured we'd do in her honor and her sweet tooth for young men. And we just play a little It's Raining Men for Lady G, even though they are not in one of my topics. But I just figured, it's back in the news, for now. But anyway, how are you doing, Boo?
Good, Boo. How are you? Happy almost Labor Day weekend.
I know. It's almost here. This is Two Queers of the Truck with Christian Cano and myself, Jenny Gunn. In case you're tuning in online or in a audio podcast format and can't see our faces, introductions are fair. But we will jump right in the first topic because it is a doozy. All is fair in love and the Charlotte City Council. And so it is a massive controversy this week as a newly elected, even though this person's been on the city council before, she lost in 2019 for running for a large seat after she'd been a district city council person for 4 terms for 8 years. And LaWanda Mayfield, a friend of the show, a personal friend of both Christian and I, dropped a pretty good controversial take. And I want to read the quote that she said on the Twitterscape. So she tweeted this just a day or two ago. And essentially, she said, and I'm going to quote it word for word, "I will not support any person who I've watched lie, manipulate, or play politics." And she's talking about the mayor pro tem position that is elected by the city council. So it doesn't automatically always go to the top vote getter, but there's 11 people on our Charlotte City Council, and they decide who the mayor. Traditionally, the nominee or the one that they usually pick is the top at-large vote getter. And so that would go to Dimple Ajmira. And so council person Dimple would be the automatic, kind of not, I don't want to say automatic. It still has to come up to a vote. They still have to be nominated or whatever the process is. You still have to go to the formality when the sessions begin in September. Clearly, Luana, and this is one of the reasons we support her and vote for her, is Luana is a very transparent, lives with her heart on her sleeve, very straightforward person that does not pull punches. And she may or may not be wrong. I mean, if she has a problems with ethics of Dimple, and she should express it before that deal. It has gotten people talking. Julie Islet weighed in. She's the current mayor pro tem. That's an outgoing city council person. So it brings us to what Charlotte politics is about, which is we had a previous city council that many of the members, including many of the outgoing members, played it very safe, very close to the vest, not a lot of emotion. In fact, it's one of the reasons probably why Tarek stood out so much was because whether you liked him or not, he is a Republican. And we make fun of him on the show all the time, but we also, the one thing I do respect about him is that he does fight for his causes and he doesn't pull any punches. That's the one thing that I've always felt. I know in the NDO fight, he was actually pushed the arguments along in a lot of ways and also forced the Democrats to get on the stick and put them on a time clock because he said, well, I'll come up with my own version of the NDO. And then he did. And so it moved it forward dramatically, which is ironic because he's a member of the Republican Party. But Luana has that same different style of politics. She's a very progressive woman of color. Also the first open queer person to be on the Charlotte City Council and elected. And so so I think the makeup of the city council ethnically has changed a lot. So we're going to see a lot of former white candidates coming off with this one. There's going to be 3 of them actually that are coming off this current city council with Matt, Julie, and Larkin, and you're seeing them all replaced by people of color, and 2 of them that are replacing those people are Black women that are also queer. So I think it's going to be interesting. I think it's not going to be your grandpa's city council. I think you're going to see a lot of people bring the heat. You also see Tarek barely win his district race by the closest. He won by the closest margin he's had in his career. It was almost so low that there was almost an automatic recount. It was so close. And quite frankly, Stephanie, probably if she would have just jumped a little harder during the primary and canvassed a little bit more, she may have beat him. And one more interesting note before I turn it over to Christian is I think what's interesting is that this is for a 1-year term, because this is a census shortened, because we did the city elections a year late. It was supposed to happen last year. They're only serving a 1-year term. And so I'm almost thinking a lot of these people are going to come out of the gate hard, probably including Tarek, because he's got a lot to prove. He damn near lost to a seat that he's been in for a little while. And the time before in 2019, easily beat Dr. Gina and barely beat Dr. Hand this year, Stephanie Hand. And so I'm interested to see what you think, but it looks like before they even get sworn in, the new people are coming out swinging.
The first thing I thought was, I didn't think she was talking about Dimple.
Mm-hmm. That's who she's talking about.
But she doesn't say that.
No, she didn't need to.
I thought she was talking about Braxton.
Nope, because Braxton didn't get the most votes. Dimple did.
I know, but she doesn't say. But that was the first thing I thought. But when I saw that, the first thing I thought is, I wonder why she's saying that about Braxton. I didn't even think about Dimple until I read the article. When I read the article, they insinuated that she's talking about Dimple.
No, she is talking about Dimple.
Well, but I don't. But that's kind of like for me, because I know she's had some challenges with Braxton in the past.
Right.
And so I just assumed when she said that she was talking about Braxton. Then when I read the article, it insinuates that she's talking about Dimple, and so I was actually surprised that if indeed she is talking about Dimple, because I was not aware that there was any question about Dimple. So until now, yeah.
Well, clearly there is a beef.
Yeah,
I do have an idea where the origin story may came from.
Mm-hmm.
Dimple is the lead person on the committee for the UDO. And the UDO, magically, the vote got pushed through before the new council came in. And I'm not so sure. I don't know. This is all speculation. So from here forward, this is all my own opinion. This doesn't even come from Luana. This doesn't come from any posts. I'm assuming that if you're putting forth a development plan that is basically going to set the tone for Charlotte's development for the next 20 years, that you wouldn't bum rush it through with 3 lame duck council people to vote for. Like, you got a third of your city council about to drop off, and a brand new, very different city council politically, sustainability wise. Luana is so into sustainability, she didn't even put out yard signs this year. She used different campaigning methods. I have a feeling.
And it was because of that or something? Yeah. Interesting. Because I didn't know.
The UDO vote got pushed through before the new city council came in, instead of waiting until September when you have a new city council. is because I think Dimple had worked so hard on that UDO.
Mhm.
I'm assuming some of this misgivings is coming from that because she
Okay.
felt like the lame duck people were just going to vote for it and go on, and she will get a legacy move and be able to hang around.
I will agree with you that I think it's good.
It's the only thing I know of because Lawana's been off the city council since 2019. Mm-hmm. It's the only thing I can think of where if I was an incoming city council, and we know how people are in public perception.
Yeah.
This UDO, if it enacts anything that's controversial or blows up in the next year, people aren't going to remember that it was the previous city council that voted it in. All they're going to say is, look, this city council, because it happened so close, it was the last session of the previous city council that voted it in, but the people that are going to oversee the implementation is going to be this new one. So you got 3 city council people that didn't even get a shot at voting. So a third of the city council is coming in going, this isn't cool. This is a 20-year legacy plan.
I understand that, and that would make sense why if someone was coming in, they would not want to vote for someone. Yeah, that they would not want to vote for someone like Dimple. I guess the only thing that I'm saying, because this is the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
There are other people who voted for it.
Correct.
Who are still going to be on the council.
Right.
And also, I'm glad that that Luana has every right to share her opinion. Every right. She was elected at large, so she has every right to share her opinion. I hope that forces all of the council to know that it's just not business as usual anymore. You've got to negotiate with everybody. More importantly, someone like Luana is not going to be afraid to call stupid stuff out from Tariq. So even though I'm looking at the tweet and Tariq is going like, "Oh, it's great to have you back," he's doing it to try to kind of put a dig at everyone else. But I'm like, bitch, you're the first person she's going to be going after if you act a fool. So I'm happy.
But then we'll move on to the next topic. I really think, honestly, steel sharpens steel, and so I don't. As far as the aggressiveness, I don't think Tariq is afraid of somebody like Luana, even if they clash. Whereas I think some people in the city council, even some that are coming off, at times we're conspicuously quiet on some things, and you're not going to get that with Dante. You're not going to get that with Luana, two queer Black women that have had to fight for everything they've ever gotten. They've never had the easy road. Neither one of them.
I think Tariq is afraid of Luana.
I mean, I would be too. I honestly, if I was
and Dante
council, I wouldn't cross Dante or Luana myself. I like keeping those big, beautiful queens on my side. Like
that's my point, Jenny.
Because we're all part of the LGBTQ Dems.
Exactly.
Those are 2 women I'm not going to mess with, and I'm not scared of much. I would never be scared of Tariq or any of the Republicans. Yes. A lot of them they're big old queens in different ways, but these ladies are fire, and I love that they're going to bring the thunder. I love that they're going to bring both a queer view of things. They're going to represent in many different ways. I love their strength. I love their intelligence. They're 2 very forward-thinking human beings. And the price of poker for the Charlotte City Council just went up. They were playing checkers, and now they're about to play chess, like world-class Russian computer type chess. But we'll go to the next subject, which is, where did Hunter Biden get his laptop, and can I get one like his too? Because his mythological laptop is. He probably didn't even own a laptop, first of all, because Republicans are all liars anyway. But I want to know where he got it from, because that laptop has caused a lot of sleepless nights for Republicans for some reason. Trump just came out with a statement today and saying how that laptop combined with the NSA and the CIA all the Google machines and the Metas and all that conspired and cheated him out of, the election, not to discount the 8 million votes that he lost by. But anyway, all of those type of things, including Hunter's mythological laptop that's made it all around the world, made it to the Ukraine and I guess China and Russia and the Google machine, and has just completely hypnotized people to screw Trump out of a win. That just should be automatic, because it's a laptop. It's the laptop. It lied to everybody. And I've got to blame that because I'm about to go to prison. And if I mysteriously become president again, then they can't prosecute me and I can pardon myself. But I won't pardon those rioters, the insurrectionists, even though they did a good job and they standed by. But you know what? Fuck them. Fuck them all. Except for Hunter Biden's laptop. I need that. Yeah. I need that to get me out of jail. Mm-hmm. And I know why he's taking a stab at the NSA and CIA, and I know why the Republicans are too. Because some of the 300 sensitive documents he had were including information about CIA and NSA agents and the assets that had mysteriously been dropping dead at the hands of China and Russia all around the world since about 2019, when the first articles talked about Saudi Arabian collusion and his son-in-law and all that. So clearly, one, they're triangulating or trying to make the case that this NSA and the CIA were after them first. And I can already see the little chess moves going with the Republicans. They got to come up with a really big lie to make Trump look like some kind of pedophile crushing CIA battle, like a spy versus spy novel. Like he's going to be some kind of swashbuckling hero. And the only thing he can kill is a big old bag of cheeseburgers from McDonald's. And then he can wipe a bag of those out. But I'm not so sure that he's some kind of double top secret Jethro Bodine, Beverly Hillbillies double knot spy. I don't know what your thoughts are.
You said exactly what I have always been saying about this laptop thing since it first came out in the 2020 election. This is like a magical laptop. This laptop, and this is a laptop that apparently was several years old, all right, that allegedly has so much memory in it on the hard drive that it has his porn, his everything. It's saved in his. You know how hard it is when you lose a file to look it up? So apparently, and this is not stuff they found in a cloud. That was on the hard drive. So the story is, which doesn't make sense, but I could see that Hunter Biden had his laptop, was having problems with it, said, I can't get my darn Word document to work properly. I'm going to go take it to this bootleg a repair store to get it fixed. Took it to the repair store. One guy owned. Said, "Can you? I need this fixed. Can you come and pick it up?" Never came and picked it up. So the place called him and said, "Hey, are you going to come pick it up?" So he never picked it up. So he abandoned it. Never called him back. Never anything. So then the guy said, I wonder what's really in it. So then decided to go and dig in the hard drive, was trolling through the hard drive, found some porn, found stuff and said, oh my God, that looks just like Hunter Biden. And then said, tried to give it to the FBI, the Secret Service, and they said, that's bullshit, whatever. So then he went to Rudy Giuliani.
Oh.
We went to Rudy Giuliani and said, listen, I've been going to the FBI, I've been to the CIA, no one will take it. Will you help me? I got someone for you. He got him in connecting with the New York Post and so forth. That's how the laptop story broke. Okay. Right. So this is what they want us to believe, that Hunter Biden actually did it. Now, wouldn't it make more logical sense that he was hacked by, let's say, Russians who got into his computer, have been saving it, put it on a laptop, sent it over? The logic doesn't make any sense.
Well,
and they're
I think
so
it makes the same amount of sense as the pedophile ring that's run out of the basement of a pizza place in Washington, D.C., even though the pizza place does not have a basement. So it's one of those big lie concocted like Hillary's emails, was Obama really born in the United States, which again was a Trump lie too, the whole birther movement. So they come up with these cocked up stories where they just, because they don't have any real issues, they've got to keep some made up story in the news that to where all the mouth breathers that vote for these idiots are sitting around going, they're petrified that Hunter Biden's got some kind of super duper power laptop that's like the magical school bus, TV show that after school. Like this this laptop is. I would just want to know what brand he bought.
But Jen, incredible. Yeah, but Jen, more importantly, this has nothing to do with his dad, Biden, as president.
That's the best part. So, I mean, the best part is, and of course, they picked an animal object, like they always do. They pick something that's not alive or can't speak for itself, just like fetuses, just like, it's always some Hillary's emails. It's always something that's not going to be able to take a microphone. Like Hunter Biden's laptop's not going to kind of crawl to a microphone and go, well, Trump was right and Rudy's right. And I've got all kinds of stuff on Zelensky and Putin and Biden's a dirty cheater. And here's the evidence. Like they don't have no evidence. If they had evidence like they say they do, and just like that jackass My Pillow guy, if they had half of what they had, these morons wouldn't be able to hold it in. I mean, even Trump admitted to the FBI, I've got some records here. You want to come get them? And they went and got the first set of records, and then they started talking to archivists and said, there's a lot more missing that he checked out before he left town. And then they went and that's why they served the damn warrant and found a whole bunch more, hundreds more, actually. These guys can't keep a secret. They don't have the hard drive or a laptop, or they would have used it a long time ago.
Exactly.
I promise you. If Rudy had any access to Hunter Biden's laptop and it showed anything bad for President Biden, he would be falling all over. He perjured himself because he didn't have anything on the election stuff. Rudy Giuliani, he's already investigation for perjury. These guys lost 74 times in a row in court. If they had anything on that laptop, why wouldn't they have used it then? Why wouldn't they have used it in commercials? Why wouldn't you just broadcast the whole thing? Like, it's kind of like the penis showing game. If you got that big of one, just whip it out. Let's all see it. Let's all see it together.
Exactly.
If not, I don't want to hear about how big your penis is. On that note, we will go to a break. Hey, everybody, you can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye-bye. And we are back on the penis showing game discussion. Anyway, the TikTok teens are blowing up the Republicans. And even though she's not a teen, she is a 26-year-old woman. She absolutely, and I'm talking about and I wish I remember the young lady's name. I should have done better on this. But the intern, the employee of the White House that absolutely decimated the Republicans over the weekend when they were complaining about their hair was on fire about our government paying off a little bit of people's student loans just to give them a little bit of friggin' relief. And the majority of these people are probably under 40, but these aren't people that are wealth. In fact, there's an income cap. You can't make more than $125,000 to get this. There is a ton of stipulations, and to get the $20,000, you've got to have been eligible for Pell Grants when you were going. And so there's a lot of rules. It is going to be easy to get, but you're talking about a couple of things that just went completely wrong with our education system and the way we distribute the funding and all this, and a lot of predatory stuff that needs to be straightened out like immediately, like tomorrow. But anyway, I love the fact that I saw another TikTok teen that was replayed from a friend of mine that lives in Texas. It was just blasting a local candidate. And you see in these TikTok teams, one, encouraging people to vote and registering young adults to vote. And they're like 18, 19, 21 years old. And we talked about it a little bit on the previous show about this young generation of baby Zs that are getting out and fighting social justice the best way they can and the smartest way. I mean, they know how to get the clicks. They know how to make other people of their generation listen. And they are eviscerating the Republicans. I mean, these things are not only hilarious and well timed, but they're spot on. The girl that I was talking about that reposted this TikTok teens thing just destroyed this Republican lady that is running for re-election in the House and just shredded her. I mean, just absolutely shredded her. You look at what they posted about Marjorie Taylor Greene and her $180,000 on her PPP loans. If I had PPP loans and I got them forgiven just a year or two ago, one, I remember that before I talk about anybody else's loans.
Exactly.
And if I had a big old stabbing fat check from the federal government and a big old federal government handout, and I had a government job too, especially an elected job like MTG or Matt Gaetz, the one thing I wouldn't say, I wouldn't be talking about anybody's loans. I'd be like, nope, I'm not putting myself on the radar. I'm like, ooh, let's talk about something else. Let's talk about Labor Day. I don't like Labor Day, but I sure rather talk about that than loans. I mean, how stupid in this modern era of Google machines and that type of stuff is so easy to look up. It's so impossible to cover up because it's part of the Open Records Act. You can look up any business that got a PPP loan, and you can know which church, like Joel Osteen getting $4 million for whatever reason, to give the Greedy Foundation. You're going to get doxxed because there is somebody out there that's 18, 19 years old that literally has nothing else to do than to look up shit like that.
Yeah.
You can look it up in seconds, know how to slice and dice that shit, and next thing you know, they've got your address, your phone number, and how much you borrowed up on the screen and laughing about it and make you look like the moron that you are. And if I was an office holder right now, like Queen of the Planet, the last thing I'd be doing is calling out people that were getting government money when I'm getting paid government money. They're getting it times two. They're getting a federal paycheck for doing a part-time job and fucking getting, money for free, these PPP loans. And I still want to know what Matt Gaetz got my loan for. I am dying. I'm going to research this. I want to know what company he owns.
Well,
is it a special hat shop for people with really big foreheads?
I don't think that I know we're talking about some
special kind of entertainment company and delivery company.
Yeah.
Maybe even a plane service, for example, that him and his buddy cooked up. I don't know. Maybe he's the next Weinberg or Weinstein or whatever,
I hope this is the future of what Democrats will start to do, because Republicans, I think what caught them off guard is they're not used to being called out on their like things like this.
Yeah.
And when we do call them out, it's not quick. It's like 2 weeks later, and the cycle is already moved to something else. And the reason it was impactful was because MTG replied back to the White House thing saying, "Go to hell, Biden."
Oh, she was livid. And she said, "You're in danger of my life." I'm like, bitch, you cornered David Hogg out, walking into Congress and was screaming that he was lying about the Parkland shooting and that it's made up and it was all crisis actors. And not to mention calling out a young man that lived through a horrific shooting and watched his friends die, and then say he made it up. And then puts a public target on his back by reposting that and bragging about it and laughing about it. And then you're mad because you got called out as the hypocrite that you are.
So don't be an idiot.
Just
I
shut
hope
your
they
mouth.
continue to do that. I
And
hope they continue to do that.
if you listen to this show, if you got one of your hillbilly employees, like the gay, not gay guy, is one of your staffers, just listen to me. Don't be that stupid. Just don't be that stupid. On the next one, we're going to talk about another hypocrite in the Congress, Marco Rubio, the last of the big spenders. He was another one that chimed into the little cacophony chorus of mouth breather Republicans that are friggin' hypocrites and liars. He weighed in on Fox News and several other agencies that would allow him to talk his way right into sounding extraordinarily stupid and overprivileged. He said, I wrote a book and I paid off my student loans. Now, when he wrote this book, he was a sitting senator, a young senator. And I'm going, yeah, it's just normal for somebody that graduated from college and is working a $40,000 a year job to write a book. And it'll pay off all $80,000 worth of student loans. It's no problem whatsoever. First of all, that's when you ignore your privilege that you got elected as a senator, a U.S. senator, and took advantage of your situation, which is fine. It's legal what he did. What's unethical is to tell other people, well, you just write a book and you can pay yours off too. Most people don't have the wherewithal or the ability to write a book.
Nor most people don't, or do they get an $800,000 advance on the book?
Correct. Probably paid by the Koch brothers.
Or however much it was. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it was a big old chunk of money. Like it was way more than his $100,000 student loans, which I can't imagine that he even has a college education. And if he does, I want to see that university. It may need to be closed. Anyway, what's more interesting is early on, this was about 2005 to 2008 when he was getting involved with Florida politics and the Republican Party, and he was heavily involved with it. And he was moving into the U.S. Senate race. Magically, he got his hands on the Republican Party American Express. There's about 5 of them issued in the state of Florida. And this got some traction years ago, and then it kind of died. But it kind of needs to come up again. In 3 years, he spent $160,000 with that Amex. Now, that's a lot of money in 3 years to prop him up. So he didn't pull himself up with the bootstraps. And he spent it on, one of them was a $10,000 vacation / family reunion. One of them was repairs to his van. There was other luxury trips. There was a repair or two to his house or improve his house for resale. But overall, in 3 years, he put $160,000, according to state records, on this card, all for personal items. None of this had to do anything with this is just filed under his personal expenses on this credit card. And this guy has the audacity to even bring up student loans. So between him writing a book, financed really by him being in office in the U.S. Senate, and this $160,000 magical credit card, just like Judge Kavanaugh's magical $1 million plus payoff of all of his debts right before he got sworn in as a judge. These guys are getting all this magical money. That's fine. That's the spoils of war. I get it. But then don't complain when we got some teacher working a full-time teaching job and working 2 other jobs just to pay off their student loans and have a place to live and maybe some food, some kooky little food and water to have. You know, don't bitch to me when our great American workers are struggling with debt and you begrudge them because they get $10,000 flipped to them. Screw off. Like that just, to me, that crybaby shit, like they call us snowflakes. I'm like, you guys are a lot bigger snowflakes than us. Like they'll buy it.
Wasn't there a saying that we're supposed to be taught those in glass houses shouldn't?
Yeah. Well, and you remember how they remind us when Trump first got elected? Fuck your feelings.
Yep.
You snowflakes. You like we're calling us all these names and all this and just basically telling us to screw off, leave this country. They there for a while. They're saying, well, if you don't like it, just move somewhere else, move to France or Great Britain or some communist country. You love communism anyway, according to them. And I love it when the tables are turned and they're not in power. And Biden does the right thing. I've never had a student loan. I don't have any student loans, never had any student loans. I'm all for it. I don't want to see anybody struggle. And if we have money for missiles and nuclear weapons, for some reason, we still have almost 7,000 nuclear weapons with our idiot ex-president running around with his instructions to him, like nuclear weapons right here, like in the cartoons. I'm pretty sure we can pay off a few student loans.
My big thing is, and I said it on the other show too as well, to me, the biggest hypocrisy about anyone being upset about this is these are usually the same people like Trump who use bankruptcy laws on a dime to clear their debt and have no issue ringing up all kinds of debt and then using bankruptcy laws. And so my saying is, you know what? If those are the laws, are able to use it, understand that, but make it fair for everyone. Like I said before, if a person has student loan debt and they just they can't afford to pay that, they should have the right to go into bankruptcy court and have that judge determine, you know what, it should be able to be forgiven just like a house, or in the state of Texas, you can actually, it's exempt. You can't file bankruptcy. You can file bankruptcy and you can't lose your house in the state of Texas. But there's states like North Carolina where you actually can lose your house in bankruptcy, And so I just think that if it goes back to, why do you care? I mean,
right.
Because
this they don't have a leg to stand on any level when it comes to spending, and so they've got to set people's hair on fire and tell most of their illiterate voters to say, "Oh, those bi-coastal elite." This is what Dan Bishop tweeted: "Those bi-coastal elitists are wanting college for free. They're wanting their Harvard-educated attorneys to do that." I'm like, if a Harvard-educated attorney is not making $125,000, they are dumber than a box of rocks. You leave Harvard, probably every one of the Harvard Law graduates leave with a six-figure bonus. I promise you, Harvard, Yale, places, Ivy League law schools, the reason you go to those is that you're going to become a millionaire when you graduate. Those aren't the people that need the loans forgiven, nor are they going to get their loans forgiven.
Yeah.
Their signing bonus was more than $125,000. I promise you. I know some people like that that graduate from them fancy schools. We're not talking about those folks.
Yeah.
We're talking about the person who got certified to teach. They live in shithole Florida, for example. And not only do they put up with a crazy governor, but then they also have a lot of living expenses and a big ass student loan payment that we've never seen before. And it's those people that you read about over and over again that are trapped in the rock market. You're completely right. The banks that write these predatory loans made sure that you couldn't file bankruptcy on them. I wonder how that happened. This is why the Republicans are scared. Plus, they can't sucker people into going into the military to pay for their student loan, their education anymore if you have the option of going for free. And so their biggest selling point in the sucking you into the military is that bribe of free schooling, which is a crock of crap. And on that note, we'll come right back. Hey, y'all, a very important PSA. Monkeypox, a viral infection similar to chickenpox, is on the rise. There's been over 1,500 cases documented in the United States. If you've been exposed to the pox by a lover or by any other intimate contact, make sure you contact your county official or your personal physician. To learn more, you can contact any of your county health officials and see about a vaccine and or possible mitigating the symptoms. Be safe out there and have a fun summer. Bye.
Thank you, Boo, for that information. Bye.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching us on Two Queers in a Truck. Don't forget, you can watch us anytime at your leisure on our video podcast platforms like Facebook and YouTube. But you can also listen to us, either this show or any of our past shows, on our audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, and all of the other ones. So once again, thank you for watching Two Queers in a Truck. I hope you enjoy our show.
Which does give me the red ass about the military in general. My dad was the sixth kid of six kids with a poor immigrant family. And how he got through college was an ROTC scholarship. And without that, he would have never been able to afford to go to school. But it also put him in military, which then again got him wounded in Vietnam. And these people are making these life and death decisions by going into the military, and then all of a sudden we decide we want to go and invade Afghanistan or Iraq, and then they either get wounded, messed up mentally, or they end up getting killed in war. And that's just as predatory. That practice should not happen. I'm not saying the military people shouldn't get a free education. I'm just saying that poor kids should not have that as their only option of being able to get a higher education in this country. That's
Exactly.
friggin' embarrassing.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be the case. Or for the students that don't have the physical prowess to be in the military. Because you've got, and there's just certain things where they could go to college. They could go do a lot of professions, but they aren't physically fit, or they have some sort of, I don't know, bone spurs, for example, and they can't go into the military. Anyway, next subject is failure of the launch. Artemis, the newest and latest and greatest NASA rocket, I guess needed a little bit more Viagra or something to get it up into space, but it did not make its launch window today. They called it off due to, it looks like some leaking fuel rings or something like that. It was going to be an unmanned moonshot, so it was, I guess, supposed to go to the moon and back. And it's the Artemis program is actually designed to return us to the moon. And for the longer term deal that they eventually, NASA wants to put long-term permanent colonies on the moon. That's the goal. I think they're supposed to do it. They're claiming around 2030. Wanting to start putting regular people on the moon and back and come back safely by 2025. And so this Artemis 1 launch was to be the first of that. They say that they're going to have another window come up on Friday. So hopefully they get the super glue out and keep this thing glued together long enough to be able to launch this thing.
Who was shooting the rocket? NASA?
Yeah, it was a NASA project. So it's
Well, was this a SpaceX rocket?
No, it's not a Tesla rocket. So luckily, or they may have had a design in it, but hopefully they can Google with their Google machine how to superglue an Artemis rocket, or Bubba and his two hammers out there slamming the deal. It's a little bit lighter news. Some of our subjects tonight were a little heavy, but this is supposed to be a comedy show too, which the heavy subjects, it can be funny as well. But laughing at NASA's expense is always easy, especially when nobody got hurt today. But clearly, I'm glad that it's an unmanned mission, because if I'm hearing leaking fuel, I'm not going to be the first one that's going to go through that little doorstep anyway, especially when it's supposed to go all the way to the moon. I'm like, there's going to be a lot of fuel on that thing to get you there. So, but two, that they didn't want to have an embarrassing failure, which it would be super wasteful to have this $1 billion rocket just blow up on the deal or fizzle out like a firework, like our backyard trash can fireworks. I'm not going to say it wouldn't be funny. I would laugh. I would find some enjoyment out of it, just because I think non-deadly, non-lethal rockets exploding when Elon Musk rockets were blowing up on launch pads, I laughed. I mean, I think it's damn funny. I think as long as nobody gets hurt.
See, I thought that NASA contracted all their rockets out now.
I don't know. Well, NASA's always used contractors, so they've always used military type contractors, because NASA is really kind of quasi part of the military too. So they've always had defense and military style contractors, aerospace contractors. So there's civil service contractors on the grounds in Houston and in Florida. So they've always done that. So I don't know. I didn't read the article deeply enough to know who was responsible for building Artemis. I just know that NASA's director came on and said they're not going to launch today because I guess they have sensors that can dictate, like if there's even a micron of this leaking out, it's not safe to launch, which I guess fuel leaking down the side of a rocket that's about to get lit by a big old match probably is kind of dangerous. I don't know. But yeah, but I'm not sure exactly who the contractor is that's responsible for super gluing Artemis together. I just think it's just kind of hubris, and after all this work, and it's just another one of those O-ring fuel leak type things where I'm going, oh my gosh, we should have fixed this with the space shuttle 30 years ago when it blew up, but somehow we still have the same problems. But it's very
I was trying to scan it to see who built it. I can't figure it out. It doesn't say. It doesn't say it's SpaceX.
I do think it's kind of cool that we're trying to go back to the moon.
Yeah, I mean that's great. I mean, I actually didn't know anything about it. So you said it. So shows you how up to date I've been.
When their intentionality is when they decommission the space shuttles.
Yeah,
the intention was to do this program. So they were actually, I read a little bit of history about it in the same article, and we were going to go back to the moon earlier, and then the space shuttle came, and the fleet lasted long enough. It lasted probably longer than they expected it to do, and so they kind of shelved, and then they studied it again, and they're like, it's probably a little too costly right now based on technology. They didn't really want to send it back to the moon unless it was going to lead to more of a colonization of the moon or something more than we did with Apollo. Like they didn't want to do Apollo 2.0. And so we got to the point where we believe, and because we've had that space station so long, we believe that we can colonize the moon. And they've come up with technology to power it and all kinds of other things. And so now they believe by the time that we can colonize it and live on the moon and use it as a jump point to go to Mars, the intentionality is to use the moon as a launch site for the spaceship that would take you to Mars rather than launching from Earth, because it's so much harder to launch from Earth than it would be from the moon. That's in a nutshell.
It makes sense, yeah.
But they got to keep these things super glued together before they launch them to the moon. I paid my bills. Screw those young people deadbeats. I know we've talked about the student loan thing, but I want to make comment about older people in general, like Gen X and even worse, the boomers. If the federal government's not helping you directly and they're helping young people, shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up. Whether you've taken out government loans or made money off the government loans, let me tell you something. My family alone has paid enough debt to the federal government. And I can say with confidence, speaking for my family, that's why we went to war. This is why we fought for our country. This is why we did the things we did and shed our own personal blood and personal sacrifice. And I don't want to hear any more bitching about student loans forgiveness. I don't want to hear about some McDonald's employee that will get a minimum wage raised up to $15 an hour. Shut the fuck up. You are the problem. If you're that worried about it, I don't know. Run for Congress. Just be better. Do better. Quit complaining. It's so weird that we begrudge our neighbors that get something like it's going to take away from me. Like, I need to go rush out and get some student loans so I can get them forgiven too, so I feel better about myself. I don't care if my neighbors do better. That's petty, gossipy, small town bullshit that I'm so sick of. I don't care at all that MTG got the $180,000 PPP. Good for her. She can buy some more Blondie or some more box wine, or even get the good stuff, like she said on the deal. I don't care. I don't care if Bobbert buys more tires so they can run over in their jack-jack trucks and run over mailboxes, and Jason can yell out, "Get you some," while shooting 12 gauges in the air. I don't care. I don't live next to them. I wouldn't be fool enough to live next to the Boberts. I immediately would sell my house. I put it on Zillow if Zillow still existed. But anyway, this whole weird, if this supposed conservative ideology is, if it doesn't help me, it's dog shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's just the dumbest, most childish. It sounds like 3-year-olds saying it. Like, that truck is mine. That ball is mine. Mine. I can just hear the little toddlers screaming. But instead, it's grown jackasses like Marco Rubio and MTG and, alleged pedophile Matt Gaetz. And I hear these people complaining and begrudging people, and go, you realize you make money off the government every day that you get paid. That you're a government servant. The same government that's helping other people, other Americans. You're literally saying to the people that live in your district, I know you got all these student loans, but just eat cake. I mean, who would say that and be in their right mind? And that's my whole thing is, put politics aside. Think about this. I don't know how many people live in a House district. I think it's like 600,000 people per district or something like that. A certain percentage of those people have student loans and are struggling to get by. Some single mom that's the third grade teacher, and she's, driving an Uber at night just to wedge in the bills. And you were going on air bitching about she owes 80 grand, Biden's going to flip her 10 or 20 grand. And you're like, that's a big deal. It's like you're just losing your mind, and you're making a 6-figure income living, working in Congress with all the benefits. I'm just like, there's a little irony that you've got these government handout jobs and this government pension and all this stuff. Everyone could tire from this job. And you're getting mad because, federal government, instead of buying $5,000 hammers for the Defense Department's flipping somebody 10 grand to pay off a probably 5 or 6-figure debt with interest. I don't know. It struck me as funny when I was writing the show today, just how weird of a mentality that would be, that you would just lose your mind over that.
It's a generational thing. It's a
not that old.
No, but Marco Rubio is not worried about young millennial and baby Z voters. He's worried about Gen X voters and baby boomer voters who follow him, support him, to keep them angry about something. I know, but to me, the good news is, because I completely agree with you, Jenny.
Right.
I hope our generation, the Gen Xers, is the last American generation to believe this baloney that somehow people are just want to take something from you, kind of like you said, instead of, you know what, maybe you need some help right now, just like I needed help back in the day. Maybe you need this belief that corporations deserve all the handouts, but people who pay taxes don't. I hope that's switching, because our generation is the last generation that believes that baloney, because the millennials and the baby Zs are the eye roll generations. That's just baloney to them. They're like, this is bullshit. Why are we giving banks money when you're pestering me about a student loan?
Right.
And so I'm so proud of them for doing what they're doing. And I agree with you. I mean, I'm very optimistic, because I think it shows you that things are changing, because the people that are upset are the predictable people that we think would be upset.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You
It
know?
was like you.
Yeah.
Like as soon
like-
as I saw the tweet come across the White House deal, it says we're doing something about student loans
Yep.
today. And they released the program,
Mhm.
just boom, and outlined it. And they put the little graphic that showed exactly how it was going to work and who was going to benefit and what the
Mhm.
income caps are. It's like, good for Joe. I
Mhm.
am so excited to see an American president actually give a shit about something. And to me, it's one of the it's the right thing to do. It's a no brainer to me.
It doesn't upset me when sometimes it does. It doesn't upset me when the federal government says, hey, farmers, I know you've had a bad year. We're going to subsidize you this year. It doesn't upset me. I understand sometimes those little things. It doesn't upset me when we help people during COVID. It doesn't upset me that we help people when they lose their job or when they are a single parent. That doesn't upset me, and I hope that we're becoming, because eventually they will contribute. And so, but the other side, they think it as, oh, you're taking stuff from me or whatever.
But here's the only thing I would stop you at. The only thing I think that's wrong with what you just said is it doesn't matter whether they contribute or not. This is all our country. It's all our money. By birthright or naturalization, if you're an American citizen, you should benefit from the collective of being an American citizen. That's the whole point. Membership has its privileges, American Express card, So our American citizenship is our birthright to get help for living in this society.
Well,
in the same way that our fire department doesn't just go out to selective houses. Whether you pay taxes or property taxes or not, or however it's financed. Or
that's
the
kind
military,
of what I was. Yeah.
Or the military defends 49 states, but that 50th state, gosh dang it, West Virginia, you're just not going to get any military protection in case the Russians invade you. It is. I know what you meant to say, but I wanted to clarify.
Well,
We don't have to earn these benefits.
No. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
When I mean contribute, I don't mean contribute as far as monetarily.
Right.
People who don't pay income taxes, whatever taxes, they contribute to this country. They take care of kids. They got to buy groceries. That's sales taxes. Everyone contributes differently, and so
right.
they contribute to this country. It may not be the way I contribute or the way someone else contributes, but everyone contributes to make this country, and that's kind of what I mean by that. I don't necessarily mean they contribute, financially. I mean they contribute.
Right.
There are people that stay. There are people who don't work, who stay home and take care of a older family member,
Sure.
or something.
Which is still work.
Exactly.
It's just unpaid work,
Yeah.
or, whatever it is, everybody in our society deserves grace, and why we all live here. The part of the American dream is making sure the next generation does better than us. For the millennials and the Generation Zs, they have not seen that. They have inherited a very shitty country, a country that has gone completely backwards in its thinking, its spending habits, and what it considers a priority. And one of them has always been an education system that everybody could access. When we were coming up in school and when we were college age, a Texas public university was about $28 a credit hour. So a full-time tuition bill in a public university, I'm talking about a public, not a privately owned, but a public university in Texas, a full-time load of 12 hours was around $300 a semester.
Hey, Jen, my freshman year at TCU, our hourly rate was $161 an hour. At University of Texas, it was $4 an hour.
Right. Yeah. It's crazy. And that
SMU was $365 an hour. I can't even imagine what it is now.
Oh, yeah. And these people have just with tuition alone or from state schools.
Yeah.
So when my middle child was going to a state school in Missouri, college, his tuition alone was like about $5,000 for just barely a full-time load. Just the tuition, not books, not housing. He didn't pay for it. So $10,000 a year just for tuition. I think it was either $5,000 or $6,000, and then there was a lot of other gazentas and housing, and that's an incredible amount of money to ask when we're already paying for the schools. Like we're already paying the teachers, we're already paying for the universities. It's coming out of our pockets, and somehow it's costing these students money too. And schools, universities aren't meant to make money. These are things that are just part of our infrastructure of our country. If we want to have a educated society, because we need people educated, because we need some educated people to teach other people how to be educated. We need a certain amount of people to train people how to be engineers so we can build silicon chip factories and spaceships and bridges and roads. You know, we can't turn into a country of an idiocracy where we're all sitting around telling fart and dick jokes. You know, we have to have these infrastructures. We got to have people smart enough to teach at cosmetology schools so you can get your hair cut and dyed and all this. And all these things need some kind of educational or training apparatus. But if we're all a bunch of blathering Republican idiots, and we devalue education and make it so cost prohibitive, we're not going to be competitive with these other major countries in the world. And coming into an information age and a technology age, where we've had a president that has recognized that and said, we need to make our own silicon chips, for example, to stay competitive. And now you watch these other companies are now saying, well, we'll match that. We'll match that poker pot. We're going to put in $150 billion of our own money too. And we're going to build twice as many plants because of you. And that's what a leader does, is inspire them to compete. Or California, that's building their own insulin plant and is going to start competing with other insulin manufacturers in California, selling to the residents first. And if they have an excess, sell it to other states. And go, we're going to use market forces and we're going to beat you at your own game. And we're going to force prices to go down.
Well,
and it's great.
I hope the person who's running against Dan Bishop in the next election, I think it's Scott Huffman, I hope he and people who work for him do some deep dive into Dan Bishop and find out, did Dan Bishop get student loans when he was at UNC? Did his wife get student loans? Is his ratty ass gay kid NC State on student loans? But more importantly, the only reason his kid is able to go to NC State is because taxpayers are subsidizing his kid, so that way he doesn't have to pay full rate, like say at Duke.
Correct.
It's a state school.
And did he get a PPP loan?
Exactly.
You're gonna bitch. The Google machine is really. Did any of your family members get a PPP loan?
I hope so.
And this is the thing, and luckily there's so many people out there doxing politicians like Dan Bishop and Marco Rubio and all these. If you're going to open your mouth, you better watch out and you better be clean, because in this era of research tools, again, these Republican politicians are realizing Democrats are about to fight back. And
exactly.
You saw even Beto do that a few weeks ago when he called out those Republican gaslighting protesters. I said, look, motherfucker, the dying kids ain't funny. Like when he was talking about the Uvalde shooter, and they were trying to make a joke out, trying to minimize it with that intimidation thing that they try to do. And he just lit them up, or, Biden calling them semi-fascists. The only thing Biden was right, they're not semi. They're full-on fascists.
Well, I just hope that whoever one day someone runs against Dan Bishop and just says, I'm the only one on stage who has not married a woman and turned into a lesbian.
Right. Oh, that would be. Well, that's why he won't say anything.
How would he reply?
Nothing to say. It would be
Anyways.
funny. You just say her name and say, "You remember her?" Anyway, and just put it out there. I'd be tweeting that all the time and going,
That's right.
you are the inspiration for twin beds, my friend. And on that note, speaking of gayness, it's raining.
Yeah.
Bye, boo.
Bye, Boo. See you next week.
Bye, baby. Hello, everybody. We got two Squares and Trucks and another episode in the can. We appreciate y'all watching and tuning in every week. Hope that you tune into our podcast, both with Coffee and Pandosi and Two Squares and a Truck. We talked about all kinds of things this week, from white supremacy to Joe Biden calling somebody a son of a bitch to a whole bunch of more. Thanks for tuning in, and y'all be safe.
Bye, Boo Boo.
Bye.